Hey, what's up, everyone? Joshua Joshi Howard here today. And earlier today, today is November 19th, I was talking to some of my members, channel members. If you are interested in being part of these conversations in the future, make sure you join the channel. But anyway, they were asking about some of the stuff I do for tournament prep. And so I kind of want to show you guys a little bit of what I'm thinking about and some of the prep that I do when I start looking to go to GTs, especially since I live in Southern California, which is, I would argue, one of the top 5 regions in the US for just raw skill, raw number of just very, very good players. So it's a very strong region, and I'm trying to get better. And one of the things I'm doing is I'm going to a GT in San Francisco, which I've talked about several times before, called Battle Shocked. And this is the list that I have locked in for that event. So I'll go ahead and talk about it quickly. This is on Tabletop Simulator, of course, because I do not have access to WTC terrain at my place currently. So honestly, I don't play on it very often, so this is why I've done some of the prep. But anyway, the list, starting on the right-hand side, I have two copies of the Catachan, Chimera, and Ogre combination. If you see here, the flags are actually flamers, whatever. They just need to look different. But two units of Ogre, two Catachan, two Chimeras, and we'll show you guys what these do in just a bit. So these are kind of like the core of like the midboard skirmishing. I have one unit of 6 Bulgrin. This is particularly because I'm playing 3 rounds of Search and Destroy on day 1, and 2 of the other top players coming to this event. I believe I'm currently the 5th highest ELO player out of like 30 something at this event, so I do have a chance to win it, but it means I need to win games against other good players. And this unit of Bulgrin is there because 3 rounds of Search and Destroy, and 2 of the other top players coming to this are World Eaters, meaning that I need something to stand up when the 8-bound charge in. And Bulgrin are fantastic for that. I have Lord Solar. He's running around by himself. These are 10 Cadian shock troops. They are going to be sitting on my home most of the game. I had a pretty big decision point between I could have brought this, I could have brought a unit of 5 Scions, I could have brought Strachan, I could have brought Creed. I thought about bringing, 5 horses. The end result was I decided to pick up the option that made me think the least, and these are going to mostly just stick in my home objective and stand there, and that's their main job. Um, I have one Hellhound. It has a heavy bolter in the hull, and then the Inferno cannon. If you take any other cannon other than Inferno, you're wrong. I just realized you cannot see my mouse. Anyway, but so I have one Hellhound. I'm going to pet him a little bit, but you can't see the hand. I have two Leman Russ battle tanks. They both have battle cannons and then the multi-meltas on the sides, and then las cannons on the front, of course. I have one Exterminator Leman Russ. This is the one with the auto cannons and the twin linked. And then I have one Tank Commander with the Grand Strategist enhancement, and both the Exterminator and the Tank Commander have plasma cannons on the sides, and of course everything has las cannons on the front. I have one big unit of Scions, so it's technically, one 5-man unit and then one 10-man unit. If I'm playing against something like Elves or Drukhari, I am probably going to split this into 2 units, just because they are just going to be hunting small things. You super overkill basically anything they can shoot at as small units. So depending on exactly what my opponent is bringing, and what opponent I'm playing against, this can be a 5-man and a 10-man or 15-man. In general, my default plan is to have it be a 15-man. I have one unit, so these are the Kazakhin models, but this is one unit of Aquilons. As far as I understand, we are playing with the WCW, which says that you can only 3-inch deep strike in your movement phase, so you cannot rapid ingress these guys 3 inches away, which does affect their ability to be really annoying and really stupid, honestly. So that's the thing. Only one unit of Aquilons. I do think 2 or even 3 units of these are still good even after the WCW FAQ, as evidenced by a lot of people at WCW still doing that, but this is the list. And then I have Gaunt's Ghosts. Cool. So that's the list I have locked in, and now I'm going to go over and show you what the default deployment for this looks like. So major things to look at. Cadians are mostly going to be sticking back here. This isn't exactly how it could be. These guys could be like over here or something in order to 3-inch block that out, and then anything that comes in to this area is just going to get blasted by any tanks. But the main thing is they're going to be throwing here, and they're going to be throwing a sticky objective onto this objective right away. That's their job, and then we can see what happens based on like what their reserves and deep strike threat comes in after that. Other major things, I have this Chimera with the idea that even though it is technically shootable, there is a line about like that where like it may be shootable. The main thing to think about with this is it's going to scout 6 inches, which is going to put it here if I'm going second, and then just straight forward if I'm going first. And the main reason why you would want to put this here is from here, it is now about 8-ish inches from the edge of this. So when Catachan are disembarking 3 and then moving 6, they can put 20 OC on this very, very easily. That's one of the main threats by having this Chimera behind this ruin is going to be. And then, of course, after, whenever these Catachan jump out and hop on over there, then these Ogren will just hop into the Chimera. So that's the main idea there. And then, of course, this is a very strong trading piece. One of the major things about this... Oh, I'll talk about the other Chimera. So this Chimera, I was playing around with a Commissar for a little while that would just sit where this Ogren is, and then he would be my area denial and whatever, because he would be within 6 inches of Lord Solar, and he could get close to the center there. This Chimera, if I go first, is going to scout 6 inches directly that way, and if I don't go first, and just a little bit here, so it's annoying to shoot and try and cut off some of these angles. The Ogren are here as the default because with the Commissar gone, I have to make a decision as to whether or not I want to use the Catachan. So if I go first and go 6, and let's say I draw Area Denial, boom, from here to there, I can get in there with a disembark from my Catachan. So it should be relatively easy to take care of that. But the other option is Lord Solar can order these Ogren. They can move 9, and would you look at that? They're right in the center of the board. Cool. I have Bulgaren here, and the Hellhound here. And one of the major things about understanding this terrain, is I'll go ahead and try and draw the lines, is it is really, really annoying to shoot in. So this corner to there, you get like that part of the triangle, and then over here, it's also very annoying because from this box, it's kind of hard to see, but basically, you have just this, and you can barely see any of it, but anyway. But the main point is you have this triangle where it is basically impossible to shoot in. And so anything inside this triangle is really, really hard to dislodge by a shooting army. And the Bulgaren are staged here, 1, and then of course it's a symmetrical triangle on the other side, as long as you aren't touching the ruin here. So the Bulgaren are 1, at worst, I'm looking at like a 6-inch charge to anything that is inside the triangle on the other side. And then, of course, if I roll a decent advance, I can also put these Bulgaren in the middle of the board and just ask my opponent what they're doing about it. This Hellhound, depending on what exactly I'm trying to do with it, the rotation actually will change. But this rotation is based on the idea that with a 10-inch move, I could move 2.5, and then 7.5, and be mostly, inside the triangle. And of course, I'd be a bit more precise with the movement. But, you kind of get the idea. It's very hard to shoot from this direction. They actually have to come up, which will allow me to, like, stage a tank and shoot back. But the other major thing that this Hellhound does is it's kind of a bait piece, right? A lot of people look at this and they think, oh, it's a Chimera chassis. It's toughness 9 with 3-up save. And I go, haha, it's actually toughness 10. Your meltas are winning on 5s, and I have a 2-up save. So I even get a save against you, even if I'm not in cover. So a lot of people will look at this and they'll be like, that thing's not a big deal. But the things that it can do from this position are, of course, we just showed you. The other thing it can do is with a 13-inch move, it can come over and touch this objective right away if I choose to give it move, move, move. And it is within 12 inches of where the tank commander is. So those are the general ideas. Other major thing, this tank commander is within 12 inches of... It'll be within 12 inches of this Exterminator, it'll be within 12 inches of this Hellhound, it'll be within 12 inches of this Chimera, and of course it's within 12 inches of itself. With the Grand Strategist, it's going to order itself Ballistic Skill almost every time. And then, I have a move, 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 or a take aim to kind of do what I want with. This Leman Russ Battle Tank over here is going to start within 6 inches of Solar, as well as this tank, these Ogren, and these Bulgaren. So, Lord Solar is generally going to be here, and I'm actually planning to do some secondaries with him. Like, if I were to draw Containment, Lord Solar is just going to run over here and contain for me. But the one other piece that I haven't talked about where it goes, Gaunt's Ghost starts over here, so it can contain, it can go over here, it can sabotage, it can recover assets, whatever I need it to. And by default, if I'm playing into a shooting army where I don't need to block out scouts, I want them to be 9 inches back here, such that I could give them move, 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 and come over to this objective, do secure no man's land and cleanse. Ugh, excuse me. So that's the very basic essence of this. So I want to show you guys a little bit of tech that I have planned up. So basically, the first thing that you need to look at is this. Let me take a 25mm base and put this jungle fighter like here in the corner, the most hidden that it can be. There is a line, something like that. You can't quite see it, but you know, let's call it there, and then we'll try and extend it. You know, that looks more or less straight. But anyway, it is very easy. So this is the smallest size model that you can put on this objective, and this is, you know, about 8.5 inches out from the deployment zone. It is very easy to shoot anything off of this objective. So, in order to make sure you hold an objective, there are a couple things you can try and do. The first one is you can try and activation gate your opponent, by which I mean you have things in a transport such that it takes multiple sets of attacks to shoot you off of it. So one of the things that you can do, especially if you're going first, is this Chimera will move 6. It is still within order range from Lord Solar. And then with a pivot, and then move, move, move. You could very easily put yourself here, and then let's say you have like something really scary over here and shoots the Chimera to death. Well then, cool, these guys are going to disembark on this side of the wall. That means that in order to get you off of this, they would either need to also have something ready to charge the Catachan, or they would also need something over in this direction that could shoot it afterwards. So that is step one. That is the activation gate of trying to knock them off. Depending on what exactly you're trying to do, another thing that you can look to do is if you have like one of your guys here from Gaunt's Ghost, the distance from your opponent's deployment zone to this guy is about 19 inches. So they could get within engagement or within lone operative range. However, most small things, like if you just take one Riptide and shoot it at Gaunt's Ghost, it will not kill all of Gaunt's Ghosts. So you have a pretty decent chance of staying alive on this, and if your opponent is just shooting like a Rhino at it, they are never killing Gaunt's Ghost off of this. So it's another way to like add redundancy and make your opponent overcommit to trying to take you off of this. So those are a couple of different ways that you have to like try and secure your natural expansion on this objective. Other things. So another thing that you have access to is this, you know, Scout 6, and then, you know, Ogryn hops in, you don't draw area denial, whatever. These guys disembark, and the thing that you can generally do, right, if your opponent is playing a melee army and you go first, and they have some guys, like, staged in here, you can draw a line of guys, something like this, so that your opponent can't actually get to this objective very easily. And so you can do something like this, park a Chimera over here, and then your opponent cannot consolidate, or generally will not be able to charge onto this. They will have to kill this and maybe consolidate a couple of guys on. Either way, if they trade, let's say you have Chosen or unit of 8-bound, they come in, kill this unit of Catachan, and you still have all of this firing angles to work with that you can immediately trade up after that. Okay, let's see. Okay, tech on the other side, I already touched on it a little bit. So if you just like Scout 6 to here, and then one of the things that you want to make sure that you can do, you know, with whatever your scout move is, again, I'll be more precise on the day, is that you can fit a couple of guys on this side of the wall, such that you can get, like, pretty easily, like, 6 guys on here, which is 12 OC, which is going to be more than basically anything other than other guardsmen on the objective. But in general, you're not going to disembark these guys immediately. But one of the other bits of tech that you have is, let's say you're playing up against something that is very heavy pressure melee. Let's go with World Leaders as the classic example. What you actually do on that is this stuff moves back a fair amount, and these Ogryn will actually start inside the Chimera. And this is something I actually learned from David Gaylord, so if you check out that video as well, you can see a little bit more of this. These guys can start, something like this, and with a 6-inch scout, you just need to make sure. Yeah, this is an example, of course, but what you can do is you just take these guys and you can scout them 6 forward to make sure that your opponent cannot charge these guys and then consolidate in. So you really want to make sure that there's enough space. Here, 4.1 is the minimum, but if these guys are like here, the main thing you need to be very careful about is making sure that there's not space down here for a guy to come in. And it's a little bit bigger. Let's see, do I have any 32s? No, but I do have Gonskos, which is on a 28. So you just kind of want to make sure that when you make these gaps, there's not enough room for something to slide by on the edge. And you can see how he's kind of getting hot. Remember that most things are on 32s or 40s for World Leaders and other melee armies. So just make sure that there's not gaps, and you can use an Ogryn to double check how much space you actually have. But anyway, by creating this screen over here and a screen with Gaunt's Ghosts 9 inches out such that your opponent can't scout, yeah, you're going to lose Gaunt's Ghost they're super dead. However, if you do it in such a way that your opponent has to charge you out in the open, now nothing else is going to die. So just keep that one in mind. These would probably shift over more like this. And then, more like this. And then you could start, bulking like this. Something like that. So you basically move backwards, but you have created a screen, a set of screens like this, such that the only thing that your opponent can charge that you're less than thrilled about them charging is Bulgrin, which is already a win for us. If your opponent is charging Bulgrin, you're in a fantastic position. Yeah, so that's a lot of the tech that I've already been looking at, and a big reason why I've gone with this version of the list. Let me go and take a look. Boom. So here's the armies I'm going to be playing up against. So I'm going to be playing on this terrain and deployment search and destroy 3 times in a row. It is games 1, 2, and 3 at Battleshock GT, so that's why I put a lot of time into this. And actually, give me a second. I'm going to go ahead and load all of it back up. Load, close, confirm. Additive load. Let me double check. Not that one. 54 tipping point. I've looked at this far less, as you can tell, simply because if I take a look at this. Hello? Wait. Okay, yeah, this one. If you just look at this, it's way less scary from the guard point of view, because even though your opponent can stage here, it is way easier to shoot them this way. And then any melee armies, it is easier for us to shoot them than it is going to be for them to run across. They just don't have their best staging area is behind this wall, and that is 18 inches to the front of your home objective. And from the back, it's 25 inches. Good luck. So I have not put the same amount of work into looking at this, but if you were to just put a unit of dudes just in here, they're very, very safe. They're super safe against shooting armies, and they're fairly safe against melee armies as well. You just have to make sure you're proactively like clearing this out. So Bulgrin are generally going to be hiding up in here. Anyway, let's go back to what I was talking about. So major reason why I made some of the decisions that I did. So firstly, the main reason why I'm putting Bulgrim back in the list are there are these two World Leaders players, Alejandro Garcia and Taylor Davis. This is currently sorted by ELO. So you can see both these guys, upper half of 1600 ELO. If you're a League of Legends players, that means they are like diamond equivalent. And these guys I already knew about. I know they both only play World Leaders, so that's part of why I put them in. The other armies that I'm a little bit concerned about are, one, there are a couple good Necron players, Evan Simpson and Oilus Sanders, who are also pretty darn good. Oilus is like a diamond player, and of course Evan is like an emerald player. There's a lot of Hypercrypt going around, and even though I'm not like as worried about them actually on WTC because it's a lot harder to fit monoliths anywhere, and the Silent King just because of how big they are. But between Necrons, Grey Knights, and Tau, and possibly GSC, I don't know he's playing GSC, but I do know he has done so somewhat in the past. There's a lot of access to 3-inch Deep Strike, and that's part of why I decided to put the Cadians in the list to hold onto my home objective going to this one. But yeah, those are some of the major list building decisions. Let me take another look at the list and really quick see if there's anything else. Bellshock Final. Yeah. Other quick list building like tech piece ideas. So firstly, Grey Knights and Necrons have a lot of access to 2-up, 4-up. And Grey Knights have access to, I think it's called True Silver Armor, whatever their Armor of Contempt equivalent is. So having the Hellhound and the Exterminator is a very potent combo because these can pump you up to AP2 ignoring cover and on your battle cannons, and then also if you really need it, you can spend 2 CP to put these up to AP3 ignoring cover on their main guns. So similar thing for the Confessor Scions, you can put a lot of pressure into even their more durable things with all of these units coming through. Both of them come back in because of how congested the midboard is and the fact that I'm playing up against multiple World Leaders. I've been playing solo solar for a little while, so I wouldn't say this is unusual for me anymore, but in general, like on the other map, he would be hiding, you know, kind of like in the quarter equivalent of this ruin, or he could go over here, or he could run down like over this way and like the equivalent ones. In this one, he will almost definitely just kind of be hanging out here, where he will have the 6-inch order range that I can pretty easily put like, you know, tank, 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 you know, where he can still be in range of a lot of things to order. If I want to put Bulgrin over here, I can deploy him like here, and then with a 12-inch move, like, he's very safe. Cool. Yeah. These are just really strong pieces. Gaunt's Ghost, I think, is really strong. Aquilons are very strong. I think having more use of Aquilons, I kind of agree with Gaylord's take that, you know, if you're trying to stay ahead of the meta and people are already teching for Aquilons, you don't need as many of them. This is kind of a style piece. I really like Scions. This is effectively my 5th damage piece coming through, because I have 4 tanks and then Scions. And then, like I said, the Cadians just a response to all the 3-inch Deep Strike. Cool. I think that's about it that I kind of wanted to talk about. I'm also preparing for another GT called Mad Alpaca, I think it's called. It's also up in the Bay Area. Unfortunately, for that one, it's going to be a lot harder to do the same kind of prep I did for this one, simply because I don't know what tables I'm going to be playing on. I don't know what terrain I'm going to be playing on. It could be any of Games Workshop 1, 2, 4, or 6. But it does mean I will be likely playing more long-range shooting, because they are all, except for Games Workshop 1, they're all pretty shooting-focused maps. So, yeah. Let me know if you thought this was helpful, and if so, I can do more of these in the future. See you later. Oh, hold on. I gotta do the thing. Make sure you join the channel if you want to know more about what content is coming up and you want to be a part of content in the future. Um, yeah, I think that's it. Bye bye.